Don't worry about it. I'll start when I need to. Hey everybody, how you doing today? I'm Alex Hirschberg, and this is Pick 6. Min hosting for Rishi again. Let's introduce our panel.
I'm Marshall, and with the NFL's new stance on the hard-hitting fouls, I'm strongly considering retirement from Pick 6.
I'm Brian. I hope I give you some good picks this week.
I'm Simrath, and I've already retired. Just on back for another week.
All right, guys. First game, Cincinnati, Atlanta. Give me a winner.
All right, well, one thing I noticed with this is we got the Atlanta pass defense, who's taken away 14 turnovers this season, versus Carson Palmer, who's looked very prone to interceptions. So I think that can definitely be something that Atlanta can exploit. At the same time, however, Cincinnati's pass offense can take advantage of Atlanta because they have Ocho Cinco and T.O., and they can probably get a lot of yards against an Atlanta pass defense that led up a lot to the Eagles last week. I look for this to be a high-scoring game, but I think Atlanta's going to take it with their home field advantage.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Marshall here. I'm taking the Falcons. Looking at this game, I was trying to think of reasons why Cincy can maybe win this, and I really just couldn't think of anything. Carson Palmer's looked awful this year. Matt Ryan, on the other hand, for Atlanta, has actually looked pretty good. The Falcons are going to be at home. I think that'll give them a good boost to go beat the Bengals and win this one.
Yeah, let's not overreact here. A week ago, everybody was talking about how the Falcons were the best team in the NFC. Then they laid an egg against the Eagles last week. But I think this week at home against the Bengals themselves had some pretty big issues. The Falcons not be able to stop the pass. The Bengals with Carson Palmer, I don't know how well they're going to pass it, even with T.O., Ocho Cinco, and the rookie tight end. I like the Falcons this week at home, bounce back game, Turner, Ryan. I like them to get it going a little bit. I think take it safe here and go with the Falcons.
All right, to the team that Atlanta played last week, the Philadelphia Eagles, Marshall's Philadelphia Eagles, Philadelphia, Tennessee, Marshall.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing what my panelists are going to say because I really don't think they can say anything bad about Kevin Cobb after last week's game. He is the real deal, and he showed it last week with a great game against Atlanta, threw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think he can continue against Tennessee. The one problem I see is that the Philly O-line, which is very beat up and injured, is going to have a tough time handling that Tennessee pass rush, which is the best in the league right now, I believe. But I think that Philly can pull this one off if they can contain Chris Johnson for Philly to win this.
Yeah, Marshall, I got to give you credit. You've been saying all along Kevin Cobb's good, and he did play really well last week. He's out to prove me wrong, that's for sure. He's looked good. The Eagles in general have looked good, but you know what? They don't have Deshaun Jackson this week, so I don't really know who Cobb's going to be able to throw the ball to. But that being said, I don't think I'm going to pick against them in this game. The Titans have some distractions right now. Kenny Britt might not even play this Sunday. He was involved in an altercation late last night. Jeff Fisher dismissed him from practice. So I think the Eagles are going to win a close one. Chris Johnson might have a good day, but the Eagles' offense has proved that they're pretty high-flying, and I don't know if the Titans can really get anything going other than Chris Johnson on the ground. Eagles win.
Well, I picked the Eagles to win finally last week, and it worked pretty well, so I'm going to try it again. I like them this week against Tennessee. I talked about how little I trusted Vince Young last week. Well, I trust Kerry Collins even less. So there's another reason to go with the Eagles. The Eagles might not have much of a defense, but with Kerry Collins throwing back there to now Nate Washington, perhaps no Kenny Britt, I don't know how the Titans expect to put up lots of points, even if the Eagles don't have Deshaun Jackson. I just don't have a good feeling. I think the Eagles are going strong right now. I'll take them this week again to beat the Titans.
All right, we got birds across the board for the first 2 picks. To Eagles division mate, Washington, playing Chicago, in Chicago. Who do you got, Marshall?
I'm going to beat Simrath to the punch here and just say it straight out. I do not trust Chicago at all. I do not trust Jay Cutler. I don't trust that offensive line. And I don't think they're going to be able to handle Washington this week. Redskins have looked pretty good. McNabb hasn't been great overall, but when it has to be done in the clutch and they need him to pull it out, he's done it for them. And I can't say as much for Cutler. So I think Washington will pull this one out.
Marshall, I'm going to have to disagree with you. The Bears looked pretty bad last week against Seattle. That was definitely a disappointing loss for them. But you know what? They're still 4-2. They have Jay Cutler. He's back. He had a week to kind of recover from that concussion he had. And here's a stat for you. The Redskins have given up more receiving yards to running backs than any other team this year. And what is Matt Forte from the Bears? What is his niche? He is a great receiver out of the backfield, and I think the Bears are going to be able to use that to their advantage, and they're going to take a close one here against the Redskins.
First of all, I find this all pretty funny. Chicago's 4-2, and there's so much talk going on in Chicago. Fire Mike Morris. It's acting that's just out of control right now. People have no hope in Chicago. Talking about the demise, everything. There's literally they're talking about a 6-10 type of season. Well, they're 4-2 right now. Washington, they've looked good at points this year, but they got absolutely lit up against the Colts last week. I'm amazed that was even a 27-24 game. I'm going to go Chicago this week. I don't have a great feeling about it, but Jay Cutler, they've still been able to pass the ball, get some yards this year. The Redskins have been able to give up yards this year. I don't know how much I'm going to trust Donovan McNabb in that passing offense on the road this week. The Bears have played defense throughout points of the year. Julius Peppers has looked good. Run defense has looked good for the most part. I'll take the Bears at home for no other reason than they're just playing at home and we'll have emotions riding after last week's ugly game against the Seahawks.
All right, did we get 2 Bears out of that? That's pretty interesting. Did not expect that one. Moving on to a good matchup that would have been great about 3 or 4 years ago. Let's go to the San Diego Chargers and the New England Patriots. Marshall.
Well, the Patriots, a lot of people were saying they weren't going to be good without Randy Moss, but last week they proved everybody wrong and looked pretty good. Deion Branch came in, filled in nicely, had some nice catches, and I really think the Patriots are a kind of team who get it done in the clutch. And whereas the Chargers have have not looked good at all at any point this year. They really can't get anything going, can't get in sync. I think that's going to continue this week. I think the Patriots are just the better team right now.
Yeah, I'm going to have to pick the Patriots too. A lot of people are calling this a must-win game for the Chargers at 2-4. I can't really disagree with that, but you know what? I don't think they're going to get it done. You can't just lose to the St. Louis Rams one week and come back and beat the New England Patriots the next week. If you can, more power to you, but that's an extremely Jekyll and Hyde team there if you can do that. Deion Branch looked great last week. He looked like a younger version of himself, taking the place of Randy Moss. The Chargers are really banged up. Malcolm Floyd is hurt. Legadou Nane has been hurt. Antonio Gates is banged up. So they're going to be relying on, of all people, Patrick Creighton. He's a bit of a retread, I would say. But we'll see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and say the Patriots take this one even on the road in San Diego.
Interestingly, the Chargers are favorites this week at home. No Malcolm Floyd likely, no Antonio Gates. No reason to pick the Chargers, but I'm going to do it anyway. I think this week finally Ryan Matthews comes out. Breakout party has been injured much of the year. Fantasy owners like me who have him start him this week. I like big things. But let's remember, last week with the Patriots, sure they beat the Ravens, but they were behind that entire game. They really did not look that great. Pass defense just got shredded by Joe Flacco. I think Joe Flacco was like 22 of 26 or something like that. Offensively, they took a long time to get in sync. That defense really at the end won the game, but the offense had 10 points through about 3.5 quarters. I think on the road this week in San Diego with their season on the line, Chargers find a way to get it done. Patrick Crane, Ryan Matthews, whatnot. I still think at some point Randy Moss throughout this game, not having him is going to hurt the Patriots in some way. That short little passing game they have might not be able to put up points if the Chargers break out this week like I project. I'll take the Chargers by, say, a field goal this week.
All right. For those of you not following Vegas, San Diego Chargers are actually favored in that matchup down in San Diego. Going from San Diego to the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, Minnesota, Green Bay. Who you got, Marshall?
Well, this game is always a classic, and with Brett Favre again coming back to Green Bay, it should really be no different in this one. It'll be a tough matchup. I think that Green Bay's pass rush have looked good, and they can probably get to Brett Favre, who's looked a little old and really not mobile this year. But that's about all that I think Green Bay really can get on Minnesota. They have way too many injuries right now. There are just so many banged up and so many questionable for this game, whereas the Vikings are finally starting to look in sync on offense, and they've got so many weapons that even if Brett Favre isn't able to do his best, then I think they can still win. I think Peterson will have a big game, and Percy Harvin's shown that he can get it done with whether kickoff returns, whether running the ball, catching the ball, and there's always Randy Moss to look out for too. I think the Vikings just have a little too much for Green Bay at this moment in time, so I'm going to take the Vikings.
Yeah, I got to say, the Vikings did look good last week with their backs up against the wall. They played hard. They got the win over the Cowboys. But you know what? I think Green Bay is going to win this game. Aaron Rodgers, he seems to be fine. Granted, he doesn't have Jermichael Finley, but their tight ends are no slouches. Donald Lee's a pretty good player. Corliss has been all right. And then, you know what? They might not even have to throw to the tight ends that much. They have Greg Jennings finally broke out last week. It was about time. Donald Driver's always consistent. And I think they're gonna get it done against Brett Favre. The Vikings, they came in there, they beat them last year. They also beat them in Minnesota. I think the Packers are just sick and tired of losing to the Vikings. I'm gonna take them at home in this one. I think Aaron Rodgers has a great day, and the Packers win.
I bet when the schedules came out in April, this game was probably at the top of everybody's list of must-see. NBC was probably patting themselves on the back. And now this is just an ugly, ugly game. The Packers are completely destroyed. Even though the Vikings won last week, less than 200 yards of offense, they really fluked that one out at the end. Romeo blew it as usual. But this week really is a toss-up. I'm going to go with the Vikings. The Packers, I just don't know. I don't know how they're not going to run the ball. Now Jermichael Finley's out. The Packers' defense is completely banged up. Sure, the Vikings haven't looked great at all. I really have no faith in picking them. I picked against them last week. I really want to pick against them this week again. But, I mean, Randy Moss is back at Lambeau. He's done some good things back there. I don't know. I'm trusting Brett Favre again to do his magic in Lambeau Field on Sunday night. I'll take the Vikings, but nothing surprises me here at all.
Yeah, who would have thought that the Vikings and the Packers by this point in the season would have come up with only 5 wins combined? So we go from 2 disappointing teams to another disappointing team for the Dallas Cowboys, the 1-4 Dallas Cowboys. They're playing the New York Giants at the new Meadowlands Stadium. Who wins, Marshall?
Well, I think it's not a matter of who wins this game. I think it's a matter of who loses this game. And the Cowboys right now are just a straight mess. They can't get out of their own way with penalties, turnovers. I don't know what's going on with them right now, but I just can't see them winning this game. I think the Giants' pass rush is going to harass Tony Romo all day, and like Simrath said, he'll find a way to blow it in the end. And so I think in a probably tight game, but I think the Giants will pull it out at the end of the game.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. 2 quarterbacks. It's hard to trust Tony Romo for the Cowboys, Eli Manning for the Giants. Both of them kind of notorious for choking a little bit down the stretch. But in this one, I'm going to take the Cowboys at home. If last week wasn't a must-win, this week is definitely a must-win. Miles Austin didn't do much last week. He had a long touchdown, but it got called back. I think he's going to have a great day against this Giants secondary. Felix Jones is finally getting a little bit of a rhythm. He's getting more carries, more touches, and he can always break one and take it to the house. Also, at the very least, I expect that whatever they are, 1-4 or 1-5. Either way, it's not good for the Cowboys. I think at the very least, Jerry Jones will at least pay off the refs to make sure they win this game.
The 1-5 Cowboys, perhaps? Could anybody have imagined that at all? Well, you better imagine it now, because I think that's what's going to happen this week. I think the Giants, the pass rush, the Cowboys' offensive line is just terrible, terrible, terrible. Giants' pass rush has really looked good this year. All that money they've paid on that defensive line is finally starting to pay off. I just think this is another one of those classic Cowboy games where they find a way to lose in the fourth quarter at home, just like they did a couple weeks ago against Tennessee, just like they did last week against Minnesota. Eli Manning last year on that opening game, in the first game in Cowboy Stadium, last second drive to win the game. I think the same type of thing can happen this year. I like the Giants. I think the Giants might be the new team, might be the new best team in the NFC, especially after winning this game on Monday night. I'm taking the Giants.
All right, interesting. 2 for the G-Man. And I can't say I agree with Eli Manning choking, but Tony Romo is a notorious choker. All right. For these 3 guys, I'm Alex. Have a good week. That was Pick 6. The G-Man, and I can't say I agree with Eli Manning choking, but Tony Romo is a notorious choker. All right. For these 3 guys, I'm Alex. Have a good week. That was Pick 6. Shit. That was a terrible sign-off line. Let me do that again. What should I say? All right, guys, for all of us at PSN, that was Pick 6. Have a good week.